A satellite 22,000 miles into space. Now, once it reaches orbit, it will attempt to land the rocket's booster onto a remote-controlled barge in the Atlantic Ocean. That is the feat. That's the one thing they haven't really been able to do. Elon Musk and company, though, showing that the private sector is absolutely amazing with this. We're about two minus. Is that the terms, guys? T minus two. Or at this point, maybe T minus 1.5. That means in about 1.5 minutes, we're going to see this beauty take off. Now, remember, SpaceX failed in the prior attempts to land the rocket. The last time it landed right on that barge, and it stayed there for a moment, and then it was sort of like timber. Hey, guys, joining me now to help watch this historic feat, we got Lieutenant Steve Rogers with me and Tammy Bruce again. You know, Steve, I got to tell you something. We've given up somewhat on the space program we had, I think, in this country. But I'd like to see it revived, and obviously it is being by the private sector. We also heard recently that the Virgin, which is not this country, but again, another pioneer, they're going to go back out in space with their Galactic too. So we're getting back on course.
Boy, am I with you on this. What excitement for America's youth. You know, when I was a kid, I sat in front of that TV set when Gemini and Apollo and landing on the moon. What excitement and what an education tonight parents could give their children about American ingenuity, American power, and it's all about America tonight.
Well, you know, and I agree completely. And yet there's a part of me, I love the private sector as a conservative. I want the private sector to do well. But for space flight and exploration, I feel that should really be a national thing. That is one thing beyond national security. Well, I think it's related to national security that NASA should be doing, perhaps in conjunction with the private sector, so that this genuinely is a national accomplishment, like landing on the moon. As opposed to Elon Musk landing on the moon, it was America landing on the moon. And that, for me, is the only issue that I have, is the downgrading of NASA in some ways, and the sense that as a nation we're not accomplishing this.
Yeah, the outsourcing of this, which of course we all think back to JFK when you start to think about the space mission and that battle with Russia to not only get out in space but get to be the first on the moon.
And maybe this will be the seed planted to bring it together, to get more grants and more funding by Congress to NASA. Our youth need something to hang on to. Our youth need something to dream about. SpaceX is the beginning of that dream.
You know, I saw a poll recently, and to your point, there is a lot more interest in outer space. There's a lot more interest in NASA. Of course, there have been a lot of movies out recently. The Martian, a lot of people are saying that movie in of itself was sort of encompassed American ingenuity. You have someone we flew to Mars, someone gets stranded there, uses their wits, and finds a way to survive.
You like MacGyver's his way out of that planet.
A lot of our science projects in school were building rockets. We wanted to be part of that.
Did you ever do the volcano?
Yes, I did. Almost burned myself.
The science, though, it's not just the space travel. It's what we discover in the process of trying to get there. The discoveries that we make in trying to move us through this process.
Let me just alert the audience, because when we came back from break, I said it was T-2. Obviously, it's been more than 2 minutes. So there was weather issues yesterday, and now there's talk perhaps they'll scrub the launch. This is very delicate stuff. They're not going to launch this rocket unless they are 100% sure. And remember, the real trick this time will be bringing it back, the booster rocket, and landing it upright, and that's failed the last 3 times. So we're listening in.
Going through now. You heard a little bit of that on the countdown net over the webcast, where the team was going through the safing procedures, which are fairly standard, and we exercise these on every Falcon 9, both at the launch sites and even in Texas, where we test the first and second stages of the Falcon 9s with all of the flight engines, the tanks, propellants, and the electronics that go on board the rocket. Unfortunately, we've had to hold the count, though, and that's going to bring an end to our webcast for the evening. We do not have, for the moment, a new launch attempt determined. This was our backup day. So I welcome you to check with us on our social media pages, SpaceX.com, Facebook, especially Twitter. Many of you follow our boss on Twitter. We'll probably have some information out shortly. But as I said, that's going to bring us to an end. We'd like to thank everybody that supported today and invite you to come back and watch us as we make another attempt to place the SES-9 spacecraft into geotransfer orbit.
All right, guys, as you can see, the launch has been scrubbed, and I am following them on Facebook, and of course, everyone's really sort of, obviously disappointed. This is the second day in a row that it was scrubbed, but they're carrying a large communication satellite that's got to go perfect, and, guys, again, I understand what you were saying, and we've gotten a lot of Twitter feed, and people remember the great days of the space exploration. But in these days, with $19 trillion in debt, with both sides arguing over what to cut and what to cut, unfortunately, to a large degree, NASA has been the victim there. But you'd think maybe we argue from a security point of view, we can get funding, and we could probably get the government in a greater role. Do you think they would be as efficient as Elon Musk?
Yes, I do, Charles, but not only from a national security point of view, but let's give our youth the ability to dream again. Let's give them the ability and the chance to say, you know what, we're the United States of America. We could even conquer space. Let's get back to those days that you just articulated a few seconds ago.
But we do need, I think it needs to be a pairing of the private marketplace and the government so that things are efficient. Government now is so big, it's impossible to move. So obviously there has to be a president who actually makes government smaller, understands what the priorities are, including national security. This clearly, with what China's doing with satellites, with even what North Korea's accomplished with a failed satellite, but they want to do it. Clearly it's in the national security framework. And again, just an optimistic, inspired American public is key to national security.
And that partnership is a good thing, Tammy.
It is. I would think that the efficiency side would be perhaps the private sector with some government oversight. Already, they've gotten some intricate relationships. These private sector orbital, selling the rockets and things like that. But also, I would say, and you brought up the point of Korea. I really think we're going to have to bring back the Ronald Reagan sort of notion that, of the Star Wars sort of thing, because ultimately they already have rockets that can probably reach Hawaii. It's only a matter of time before they'll have rockets that can reach the mainland.
And it gives us the chance to show us off again, to show the great United States of America off, and let the young people know, you know what, it's not all politics, it's not all what we're hearing.
Steve, you know anybody who could build that program?
Pardon me?
You know anyone who could build that program?
The United States of America could build it.
No,
you love the country.
I was going to say we're going to fight a planet Trump. I didn't want to do it. And then I told Tammy and agreeing, well, it's part of making America great again.
Let's leave it there.
That's right.
Into it.
Now, not everyone, by the way, is convinced that Donald Trump is the man. An unfavorable poll out about his support among Hispanics. Now, some say it doesn't matter. He's putting together a unique combination of voters not seen since Ronald Reagan. Others are saying, don't underestimate Trump with Hispanics. We'll be right back.